Hi there, my name is Natalie. I'm going to talk you through some really vital breathing techniques for labour and birth preparation. And before we begin that, one of the most important things is actually not so much the breath technique itself, which of course is really important, but it is the practice of it. And I had this as a bit of a light bulb moment this morning actually, that when I was preparing for this video and I was doing the breath techniques myself, I thought, well, I've been doing these for a really long time now and I have that muscle memory and my body does the movements without really me having to think too hard about it. But if you're just beginning this journey, then getting those muscles, getting that connection between brain, body and breath can be really tricky. So that's going to be my number one takeaway tip, is to practice. And then the next bit is, of course, the breath techniques. So there's 3 sort of regular breath techniques and then 2 what I'm going to call the special add-on breath techniques. The first thing I want to talk about is how we can breathe well. Most of us, or a lot of us, are chronic mouth breathers. Our mouth was designed for eating and it sort of serendipitously also takes in air at the same time. It's like a backup mechanism, if you like. The way we are designed to breathe is through our nose. It humidifies the air, it brings it through a smaller passage, which actually means it enters the body more slowly, which is calming for the nervous system as well. Breathing through our mouth is activating for the nervous system. So when we're thinking about labour and birth, we really want to, at the very least, be inhaling through our nose. If you exhale through your mouth, fine, not such a big deal. But that in breath, we really want to be taking it in through your nose. And now I know in pregnancy, congestion can be a real issue. So if you want to start your day by doing a daily steam inhalation, that's a really great way of clearing out those nasal passages. Of course, we can't make the swelling and the soft tissues go away. I don't have a magic trick for that one. But starting the day with the best possible air passage size you can is going to be a really great thing to do. Plus, you give yourself like this amazing little mini facial first thing in the morning, which I always find feels like incredibly decadent, actually. So that's the first thing. So breathing in through our nose, breathing out through the mouth or the nose, your preference, doesn't matter. And as we begin, I break this down into 3 different segments. There's kind of relaxation breathing, balanced breathing, and purposeful breathing. Now, with these in relation to birth, the calm breathing is going to be, the relaxation breathing is going to be that time when you're, well, maybe throughout your pregnancy you have something that you're finding stressful and you notice that you're tense in your body, you're holding up. When the labour process starts, it's going to be for that early labour process, when things are just beginning to build up. For most people, that's how labour starts. For some, it is a bit of a kind of a wham bam, thank you ma'am, it hits you like a steam train. But for most people, it builds up slowly. So you can use this calm breathing technique to get your body to tell your brain that this is safe, that this is relaxed. Often what happens is we're so much in our head, that our brain is telling our body like, oh, danger, like, oh, you're feeling this, you're feeling it as pain, or you're feeling it as sensation or discomfort, or however you want to phrase it. And that tells your body that this is a danger signal, which, yes, pain is a signal to our body that something is happening, that we need to do something about it. The pain that we experience in labour is a bit different from regular pain. You may have heard the acronym actually of pain itself, like P. It's purposeful. It's bringing your baby to you. And how amazing is that? A, it is anticipated. We are expecting that there will be some discomfort during labour. And that's going to look very different for everybody, but it's anticipated. I, it's intermittent. It comes and it goes. And that, I think, is also a really key element. It comes and then it goes and you can rest in between. Cue the calm breathing, the relaxation breathing. And N, is that it's normal. It is a normal part of the body's birthing process. And it is a place of safety that you do not have to be scared of. So that, I think, is also a really important takeaway from the pain that we experience during labor and birth. But it doesn't have to be like pain, danger, like, whoa, sound the alarm. If you prepare your body correctly, then you can actually welcome those sensations. And I'm not going to say that you won't experience it as pain, but if you can let your body relax, just the laws of how our body works, if you're tense and tight and you're holding all of this energy in and up, it's going to feel harder for your body to allow something to pass through it. That's just sort of common sense. If your body can be soft, if you can allow it to open, if you can allow the tissues to soften around the baby's head and expand, then that process is going to be a lot smoother and B, a lot less uncomfortable. So the relaxation breathing can really help. And the basic principle of this breathing technique is that your exhale is roughly double your inhale. So you can use any count you want. You can start with the count of 1 if you find that helpful, or if you struggle feeling like the breath is too long. You don't have to breathe to somebody else's timing. You breathe to your own timing. Let's say you breathe in to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. Exhaling to the count of 8, for example. You might not be able to start there. You might inhale for 3, exhale for 4. Inhale for 3, exhale for 5. Inhale for 3, exhale for 6. You can build up that way as well if you find that difficult in itself. That breath technique in itself is calming for your nervous system. It's going to remind your body that you are in a place of safety, that this is where you want to be, that you are inviting it in, that you are welcoming it, and that you're not scared of it. The second one is the balanced breathing. So this breath technique is really useful during those surges or contractions, the peak of them. And it is literally, as it says, the balance is in the inhale and the exhale. So the inhale and the exhale length is the same. So if you're breathing into a count of 4, breathing out to the count of 4. Same principle. We're balancing those energies in our body, giving ourselves the space to allow the body to use the activity that's going on in it. So when you're giving birth, it's not just you that is doing the work. And actually, for most births that are unmedicated, uninterrupted, actually you don't do much of the work. Your body is doing most of the work until it comes to that point where you are bringing your baby out to the outside world. So the contractions that happen within your body is the work of your incredible uterus. And what we want to do, though, is we want to enhance the work of the uterus. We want to help it to work as efficiently and effectively as possible, essentially so that you are in labor for as little time as possible, and therefore you're not fatiguing, your muscles aren't tiring, because there are inherent challenges with that. When your body gets tired, then that's when things can start to go a bit sideways. So using your breath to enhance the action of your body is incredibly powerful, really useful. And then that also leads us into the third breath technique, specifically for the labor and birthing time. And this one, it's similar to an Ujjayi breath. If you're familiar with yoga, in hypnobirthing we call it the J breath. Birth breathing, the J breath, Ujjayi breath, kind of involuntary pushing breath. Call it what you want, really. It doesn't really matter what you call it. The action is the important thing. And history has sort of taught us this breath technique where we are told to take a big breath in, normally through your mouth, so you're activating your nervous system. You hold it, and then you use that energy to bear down like you're doing a poo to get your baby out. Now, whilst that does tend to make the pushing faster, and I'm going to say that actually it does tend to make the pushing phase of birth faster, you've kind of got to think about what's going on there. You're taking a big breath in through your mouth. You're activating your nervous system at probably the most important time when you want to calm it. You're being told to hold your breath, so you're depriving both yourself and your baby of oxygen. Now, it's only for a short time, but we all know that when you hold your breath, you get dizzy, and then you add effort onto that, you get even dizzier. You get dizzy, you might get lightheaded, you might feel a bit woo, and it's likely going to be reflected in the baby's heart rate, particularly if they're on continuous fetal monitoring, if you're on a CTG or EFM, they call it here in North America. So I would like to move us away from that, with the knowledge that then each push that you do may not be as aggressive, which I personally see as a good thing. So the breath technique that I'm going to recommend is where you do take a big inhale, but through your nose. You fill as much as you can, and then you use your tongue like this kind of thick, think of it as like, I don't know, a rolled up piece of cotton wool or a rolled up blanket. And you're just moving that to the back of your mouth. And what you're doing there is we're just closing off the air passages just slightly to make them narrower. What that does is that means as the breath leaves our body, it leaves it more slowly, and it creates an intra-abdominal pressure. Now, what that is going to help to do is with the action of your uterus, which is in itself pushing the baby down and out, that pressure in your abdomen is also going to push the baby down and out. Plus, bonus point, this kind of breathing encourages the pelvic floor organs to lift up into the body. So you've got this incredible action of the baby being kind of passively pushed down, and then the pelvic floor just being gently pulled up and over around the baby's head, which for the crowning phase is potentially going to reduce your risks of severe tearing. Because again, if you think about it, if we're holding our breath, like your muscles are tight, then you can't relax. So if you've got this tight ring of your perineum around the baby's head, and it is tight, and then you have this action where you're aggressively pushing something through that ring, well, those tissues don't have time to relax and to spread and grow around. Instead, you've effectively got something kind of forced through it. Whereas if you try and enhance the body's natural action, so that involuntary pushing that I talked about, oh, sorry, a really itchy nose. There's another word for it I heard the other day. It's like generalized, like dispersed pushing or something. But basically what I'm talking about is when your baby's head gets low enough in the vaginal canal that it hits an area and you get something called the natural expulsion reflex. And that encourages your body to literally expel the baby. Now, I know that doesn't sound very nice, doesn't sound very positive, but it's actually a physiological action that your body takes to say, like, okay, this is the birthing time, this is what we need to do. Now is the time to get this baby out, because you don't want a baby sitting in your vagina for, hours and hours. They get tired, your body gets tired, they get swelling on their head. It's not a place for them to be for hours and hours. The body is designed for them to, when it's time to get them out, you want to get them out. So those are the three sort of main breath techniques for your birthing process. And if you want to call it for the different stages of labor, you can. There's two additional ones that I think are really powerful to use. One of them I'm just going to refer to as the vibration breath, and the other one is horse breath. So they do know that there is a link between kind of, you say like loose lips here, loose lips down there. And there is some science behind that as well. So the horse breath is for that time. Maybe it's when your baby is crowning. Maybe it's when you're hitting the transition phase of labor, which is when your body's getting ready to bring the baby down and you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. You might be sort of just, telling people that you can't do it, that you want to run away, you want to hide. You might be struggling to let go in your pelvic floor. That's also a really common issue for many women, for many birthing people. They're holding that tension in their pelvic floor and they cannot let it relax, and the baby cannot descend if the pelvic floor muscles don't relax and allow it to move down. So this one involves just taking a breath in and then you let it out like so your jaw is completely relaxed, really floppy. Everything moves. Your jaw relaxes, your lips relax. It also involves people laughing, which, as we know, releases endorphins, gets that serotonin going. Those are all really powerful things for labor that we want. Those are hormones that we want, feelings that we want. Endorphins are our body's natural painkillers anyway. So this breath I find also makes people laugh, which is a really great thing to do in labor. And then the vibration breath. I recently learned that vibration signals reach the brain faster than pain signals, which for me was like a total light bulb. Oh my God, this is it moment. Now, I'm not saying that vibrating your way through labor, you're going to give yourself a pain-free labor. It is something that I would actually like to research. But we have this incredible thing called the vasovagal nerve in the back of our mouth. And when we vibrate in our mouth, or when children thumb suck and the thumb presses up on the soft palate at the back of the mouth, it stimulates this vasovagal nerve, which again relaxes your nervous system. So giving your body those signals of safety. And if you are in a state of overwhelm during your birth, or just in general life, actually, for that matter, you can't use this part of your brain. Like your thinking brain, it's not there. So what we need to do is to use our body to get into our brain, both into our instinctual brain, but also signify to this higher thinking, this critical and analytical part of our brain, that this is a place of safety. And vibration can be a really powerful way of doing that because it stimulates, again, that vasovagal nerve, it calms our nervous system. So this is a simple one. You inhale. Do it one more time. And if you've witnessed anybody giving birth, or you've heard stories about the birth song, this is the kind of sound that people are referring to actually. And it's one of those primal noises that, again, when birth is left uninterrupted, or even if there is some intervention, but if there's, as long as you don't have an epidural, because obviously the epidural blocks those natural pain pathways, which, again, everything has its time and its place, and that can be a really great thing for some people. But you don't tend to get these kind of primal noises coming out because this is your body's way of instinctually telling yourself that this is safety. Like, you'll hear those noises, those kind of moans, those groans, those vibrations that are created in the back of the mouth by that vasovagal pathway that uses your body to tell your brain that this is safe. So that's a really useful technique if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, if you're reaching that point, you need to kind of refocus, but you don't know how. And somebody's telling you, just relax, just take a deep breath and relax. That's not helpful when you're not relaxed. It's actually really unhelpful. And for often people, it makes them more stressed out. So those are my top 5 breath techniques. If you have used them, or you practice them and you really love them, drop me a comment, let me know. I always love to get feedback as to how you're finding these. I think they're really powerful, but it's not necessarily about what I think is important. It's about what you think is important and what's working for you. But that's just my top 5 breath techniques for labor and birth. See you soon.